What's up, guys, and welcome to the OneTake Podcast, where we talk about movies, TV shows, video games, and other stuff every week. This week, we're talking about Elden Ring. We're talking about video games, so I had to bring on my video game experts, my brother Alon,
Hey.
and my brother Adam.
Yo.
What is Elden Ring, and what is so good about it?
I can try to give you kind of like a top level, very general answer about it. I think what's so good about it is a few things. Mm-hmm. One, it doesn't treat you with kid gloves. And you're rewarded for sticking with it. Like, even when I first started, actually, let's go back to Bloodborne, because I felt similarly when I played that. I played that game for 2 hours. It drove me insane. I was like, this is impossible. Why am I doing this? So I just gave up.
Why do they make that if you can't even win? Then why am I fucking playing?
Like, I did not invest the time to understand it. This one, I was like, the way like everybody was talking about it, I'm like, okay, there's obviously something I don't understand about this game. So I stuck with it, even when I was going nuts. I didn't understand what the hell was going on. I didn't understand the user interface. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. I just stuck with it. And after you give it some time, it just like hits you. You're like, this is amazing. It's just like you no matter what direction you go in, as long as you like just keep fighting through, you're rewarded with like one thing after another. Like, you have no idea what to expect, and then you find a sweet weapon. You find like an amazing like fight or an amazing view. It's just like everything that I thought was stupid in the beginning, I slowly come to realize this isn't stupid at all. I could keep going, but here, like one more example, like there's all these messages that users leave and ghosts, and I'm like, these are just distracting and stupid. But then all of a sudden you encounter one that actually gives you like a really good hint. And at first I thought it was stupid. I'm like, they don't let you just write whatever you want. But then I realized that helps, because then the messages are more cryptic. And they can't just write the solution to a puzzle there. They have to write it in like an interesting way. And it's
that
like
also doesn't break the environment too, because then it would really be non-immersive if in the middle of the game suddenly someone's just like leaving a message that's some internet meme or something that really doesn't fit the universe. But instead, every aspect of it is immersive, whether it's the comments or the ghosts you see running around, or even certain things that in a normal game you would just push start, navigate the menu, and say what you want to do. In this, it's like, well, if you want to engage in multiplayer, you have to collect this severed finger, like a bloody finger, or these other. So it's like, it's all immersive. It's in the world, and it's all like item driven rather than just like having a really non-immersive menu system.
And speaking of the menu system, a lot of people complain that there's no quest log. Mm-hmm. And the more I think about it, the more I like it. That means there's nothing to read. You don't have to like go onto a computer or a console and read this and read the data pad and like go into your quest and see, okay, this mission, and you just focus on exploration. That's it. The only time you're going into a menu is to deal with like your inventory.
Right.
And like if there's something you want to do and you want to come back to it, you go into your map and you leave a marker and you come back.
Right. And the basic gameplay loop is like, if you want to look at it in terms of quests, each quest is basically, there's some giant ass insane monster that you feel like there's no possible way you can beat them. So and then you have the decision of, okay, how long do I grind this out? And the beauty of it being an open world game is it's up to you. So sometimes you'll get to a boss and you're like, okay, the first couple times I tried to fight them, I was able to get them down like by 1/3 of their health before they just destroyed me, which gives me enough confidence to think like, let me just keep grinding it. Let me keep trying over and over and over again. As you learn their patterns and as you get better. And sometimes that works out. And other times you're like, you know what? After like 6 hours, you say, I give up. The only thing I can do is leave a little mark on my map and try to get stronger.
Yeah. And speaking of that, one thing that I think is like amazing about the game is, there is no like difficulty scale. There's no easy mode, hard mode, whatever. There's just one mode, insanely hard. But it's up to you to make it easier. You can either approach a boss and just keep fighting it with the exact same XP you have, same weapons, everything, and eventually you can learn its patterns and win. Or you can do what Adam's saying, go grind, go fight another boss, go fight other bad guys, increase your specs, and then come fight it, and you'll have a much easier time. So
yeah. And one thing that's cool is, I've played like a lot of different kind of action RPGs over the years, especially Diablo, which we will cover at a future date.
Yes.
And in Diablo, which I love, but you can reach a point where basically as you get higher in level, as you get better items, you can play the game on autopilot without thinking. And that's why the game becomes a game of just farming for items. And you do the same thing over and over again, hoping eventually they'll drop the thing you're looking for. Whereas in Elden Ring, in my experience so far, no matter how strong I get, once I reach, there's certain enemies that at the beginning of the game were really tough and took a lot of hits to defeat. But as you progress and as you get better items, you reach a point where, okay, I can one-shot them, and it feels really good. But you can never actually let your guard down. Even like just a rat, like one of the most basic RPG enemies you can think of. If you let your guard down, no matter how strong your character is, if a rat attacks you and you're not focused, you'll die. You'll get killed, no matter how good your character is.
Yeah, I mean, on that, the way people describe it, when your move set is when you pick a move, when you press a button, you have committed to it for the duration of that animation. So even when you're fighting a rat, like every enemy could take like half your health. So, and obviously the more XP you get, the less that takes. But when you press like the strong attack, that is like a full second or whatever that's gone. So during that time, if you press that at the wrong time, you're screwed. So you can't go into autopilot like Diablo. From my understanding, you play a lot more Diablo than I do, but every single button press matters. And you feel like you earn every single victory. And it never gets boring to fight any bad guy in this, even like the weakest ones.
I can't remember the last time I screamed both angrily and with joy at a video game. Like literally, it's probably been over a decade since that's happened. And with this game, first of all, I found myself screaming and getting pissed off, and frustrated when I'm fighting a certain boss, because I know, like, I could do it. I just need to stop making mistakes, and I need to really focus and do the right things. And then after the hours of trying, and you finally get it, it's not like a hollow sense of achievement of, finally I did it. It's like, yes, thank God. Like, Alon has seen this. Alon has witnessed this.
Dude, sorry, you want to ask a question?
No, I was going to say something, but go ahead.
All right. No, I mean, this is a whole nother segment here, but I just want to give you an idea of how, like, addicted Adam and I got to this game. Like, it was like, what time was it? Like midnight, 1 a.m.?
I was asleep, and I woke up because I was hungry. So I went to, it was like 1 or 2 in the morning, and I go over to the kitchen, and I grabbing something, and then I see Alon's playing Elden Ring. So I just got out of the shower, and so I'm like still in a towel, and I was just like, and I couldn't even see, like I didn't have my contacts on. My retainers were in, so I could barely talk. And I sit down just to watch, and I'm just seeing these blurs moving on the screen, but I'm starting to get into it.
Well, I was like, Adam, dude, you would not believe where I am, and it was
and I see Alon's character in a place that I've never seen in the game before. It's like he's underground, and he's doing really ridiculous kind of platforming stuff.
I was literally like, Adam, I can't even explain to you how I got here.
He's like, I don't know how I ended up here. I don't know what the goal is, but I'm just trying to keep going to see what happens. And we ended up staying up for hours, and I felt exactly how I used to feel when I was
like we were kids again.
5 years old, watching you guys playing Super Nintendo.
Dude, I remember when we were doing that, I was like, I kind of feel like we should wake you up for this.
This is on my list of regrets, because I remember that night. I was half asleep in my bed, and I just kept waking up every 20 minutes to
that was Adam. I was pretty quiet.
Yeah.
I thought about getting up out of bed and joining you guys. And when you told me the next morning about all of this, I so wish that I did, because, like you said, when you were explaining all this to me, I had flashbacks to all of us sitting on the couch playing Super Nintendo.
Yeah. Well, there's so many parts of this game. So, okay, you know how there's all these games where people figure out how to glitch the system. They like go outside the map. They're like walking the edges of cliffs they're not supposed to walk on.
Or Super Mario or Mario 64 where he's flipping backwards up the stairs.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
he's like
to
on
skip
his
the,
butt.
That's right.
70-star requirement.
Yeah.
I mean, in this game, you figure out all that stuff, and you're like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here, but then then you find some sort of reward, and you're like, okay, I guess they did expect me to go here. Which, all right, so here's a little bit of a complaint. To me, I like that because it feels like it's kind of amazing to be rewarded for something you don't think you're supposed to do, and then you're like, oh, they did expect you to do it. But then at the same time, the platforming mechanics, if they actually like had certain character animations for that, then I'd be like, like when you're walking on a ledge, you're just kind of like walking over air because
right, like you could have like
you
half
be
of
going
one
like that
foot
or
on the
something.
ledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen you climb up a mountain, but you're jumping from one imperceptibly small rock to another. And I'm looking at it, and it looks like the game's glitching out, like you're not supposed to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But then you get to the top, and clearly this is an area that's been designed and thought out.
Yeah.
It's clear that those things you're supposed to be able to do those things, and I'm sure that the developers were aware it didn't look quite right. So my guess is it just was probably a time constraint, especially because this same From Software, which is the studio that makes this, has also made the game Sekiro, which is another Soulsborne type game, and in that one there's a lot of verticality, and there's a lot of you're basically like a ninja. And they have full animations for like clinging to the wall or like grabbing on and moving.
I'm not saying they need like full climbing like Breath of the Wild, but I feel like you should be able to hold on to ledges. But I'm sure if you were able to do that, it probably would change a lot about the game. Probably things I wouldn't even expect.
Yeah, I don't know about ledge grabbing, but like keep the current mechanics, but just make the characters like posture and the way they're moving reflected. So if you're standing on a ledge,
terrain,
don't let them just. If you're standing and clinging to a ledge, you shouldn't just be standing there casually.
One foot on the ledge and one foot just in the air.
That said, like it's not. I don't really have. That's not really a big complaint for me, other than
agreed.
Sometimes I just notice it, and it removes a little bit of the immersion, which to me is like the best thing about the game is how immersive it feels.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you agree. I care a lot more about gameplay than I do about graphics. That specifically to me is just awkward, and it does remove some of the immersion. But at the same time, it's still fun. Like because you start to learn that okay, this is doable in this game. It fits within the game's rules. Yeah, but it's kind of a weird rule.
Just speaking of you being in that area and like platforming and descending further and further into whatever, like you didn't even know where it was leading. I shared some information with you that helped you do that, which was you were getting to these ledges and you're like, okay, I can make like, if I make this jump, will I die from taking fall damage or can I do it? And I blew your mind by being like, well, like, those like weird rainbow stones you have in your inventory?
Oh,
Did you know
that was awesome.
If you drop one and it shatters, that means the fall will kill you. But if you drop it and it doesn't shatter, that means you'll probably survive. And the higher pitch noise it makes, the more damage you're going to take. And so I think you got a similar feeling that I got when I first learned that. So when I first learned it, my mind was blown. I was like, this is the most immersive game I've ever played because I really feel like I'm figuring out how this world works and how to use the resources I have the same way you do in real life when you go to a new place and you're figuring out how to navigate it, or like if you travel to like a new country and you're not quite sure how everything works, you feel like you're discovering and learning the whole time. Yeah. And when I realized, okay, I actually have this tool that can help me navigate the world, and it's not just an easy thing where, like, if I look down, I use a special, like, binocular, and I look down, and it'll just show, like, danger, like, but it's an actual, like, I'm dropping a stone. I have to actually... I don't know. I'm just making something up that sounds like too interfacey. Whereas this, it's like I have to actually use my ears and listen.
It's like if you were going to shoot an arrow or something, and there's a big arrow to indicate where it's going to land, and then a big X pops up and says, "No, you can't shoot it that way," or something.
Right.
You're like,
Whereas
yo,
this
have you
is
ever
like-
seen that in a game?
It's not enough to just look. Like I need to actually use the resources I have, and I have to conserve it. Like I only had, like I was in a situation with a lot of that platforming at one point, and I had to be very careful because I only had like 2 rainbow stones, and I knew that I probably would need more than that, but I didn't want to leave the area and go farm for more. And so like this thing that previously I barely knew what it did and it didn't feel like it mattered, suddenly was like very precious, and I had to be really careful with how I used it.
It's one thing I want to point out is you keep using the word immersive. And when I first started playing the game, and again, I only played, I think, 1 session for an hour or 2. And one of the things that kept bugging me, because I think there's something you need to let go of when you play this game, which is I'm very much, well, that too. But I'm,
any life whatsoever.
I'm very much the type of person, when I sit down to do something, what's the right way to do this? What am I supposed to do? And this game does not hold your hand at all. There's a cutscene where it tells you a story.
So Alon said this game doesn't treat you with kid gloves, and I feel like it treats you with scissor hands.
Yeah. Like honestly, to me, like Kirby's coming out.
Right.
After this, I can't picture myself playing that game. It just looks way too easy, way too expected.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there's fun aspects to it, but like I already heard the game's pretty easy, and obviously it's geared toward kids. But like, like Mario Odyssey, I think they did a good job with that. To make it playable for kids and for adults, because they have all these crazy mechanics that if you're a kid, you're like a little kid, you're probably not going to figure out. Throw the hat here, jump off of it, jump here, jump here. That's like more of like a speed running. I guess teens do.
Yeah,
but you don't like need to do that stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like Elden Ring, where it's got that difficulty scale where you could go about it the easy way or the hard way. Although Elden Ring, the easy way is a lot of grinding.
Right.
A little bit different. You get the idea. I don't think I'm going to play Kirby.
Yeah. I think Kirby might be my kind of game.
Yeah.
But
we'll talk about that.
Well, what I was going to say is that
It's like going to Weenie Hut Juniors.
What?
In SpongeBob, when SpongeBob wants to go to like the cool biker bar, and they're like, "Hey kid, we think you'll fit in more over at this place," and it's like Weenie Hut Juniors.
Listen, kid, I think you'd be more comfortable over at that place.
Weenie Hut Juniors.
I'll cut in that clip and then Photoshop my face.
Don't put. Okay, yeah. I was gonna say don't include too much of that clip because Nickelodeon will destroy us.
Yeah, exactly.
Could just be a picture.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that. I'll do a flip book.
Yeah.
No way the algorithm will pick up on that. But the game
Don't
gives
even say algorithm.
Yeah, you're right. We got to fly under the radar.
Yeah.
The game, it gives you a cutscene at the beginning, which sort of sets up the story. But by the end of that cutscene, I was only more confused. I had no idea what they were talking about. But in terms of immersion, I think that probably contributes to it. Because in the real world, you're playing a character here who's not a child. This is an adult, tarnished character. At age 30, whatever, middle age, nobody just randomly comes up to you to be like, "Welcome to the land between. Let me tell you a little bit about this world. Find a rainbow stone and drop it." By a certain age, people kind of assume you know the lure of Earth. Nobody explains, like, there's this thing called gravity, all right? And you'll see structures. Those are man-made. Those are buildings. This is ground.
That
right?
reminds me of that subreddit that treats life like
as though it's
RPG.
a game. And
What was it called?
They'll be like, "Hey, for the next patch update, can we please get rid of tiredness?"
There's too much fall damage.
Dude, I used to go to that subreddit all the time. It was just fun to read.
But I think part of the immersion, the difficulty is part of the immersion because there aren't tutorials in the game.
There is one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but actually, a lot of people skip it by accident because it's not obvious where it is, which is kind of funny because you figure, I think they don't want people to easily find it because they want you to get thrown right into the whatever.
Well, and eventually, if you hit a wall because you're like, I just don't understand what to do, then chances are you're not going to make it too far away from where the tutorial is. So you'll start back. You'll start back you'll start back at the site of grace. That's like an area where you can spawn. You'll start back probably at the site of grace where you originally began. And if you just keep getting stuck and not knowing what to do, chances are you'll talk to the guy who's like I forget exactly what he says, but he implies if you like drop down, you might learn something.
Yeah.
And basically you have to jump down this pit that looks like it should kill you, and you jump down and suddenly you're in this little tutorial thing. Mm-hmm. But the game doesn't the number one mistake you can make playing this game is being impatient.
Yeah.
And not paying attention, which is when our younger brother Daniel was playing it. Like, he was just passing through town, so like he knew he wouldn't get to sit down and play it for a long time, and so I think that was part of it. But he was pretty impatient with it, and he was like, I don't get it. Like, I don't know how do I do this? How do I do that? And I was like, gee, this guy's saying something about going down there. Maybe you should try it. But it took him, he played it and didn't know what he was doing for like 40 minutes before he actually before he figured out the tutorial.
There's this one guy outside near the beginning of the game that kind of gives you some hints, and I convinced Daniel to kill him.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. The game lets you kill anyone. You can kill NPCs, even people who have important things for
not
you.
all of them. Some of them have like a shield that pops up.
I like how Adam's giving Daniel hints. He's like, maybe talk to that guy. And I was like, dude, kill that guy.
Well, he tried to
that
kill
guy's
him.
bad news.
He tried to kill him, and he failed, and that guy killed him. And then every time Daniel would go near him, the guy would attack him.
Well, yeah, you permanently make enemies with an NPC that you attack, even if you don't end up killing them. That said,
in real life, if someone slices you with a knife over and over, do you forgive them?
Yeah, there is a way to get forgiveness, but I don't even remember it. But I read a little thing about it online.
Yeah,
so the thing is, even explaining this, I feel like I'm touching on a spoiler because it's normally you think of spoilers as relating to like
story
ways of defeating a boss or something lore related. But this is how you get an NPC to not be mad at you anymore. And it's the reason it feels like a spoiler is because it's not an obvious thing. You have to explore and discover some place, something in some kind of absolution thing where you can go and ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, that's why like even that area.
Only if you didn't kill them.
Yeah.
If you killed them, they won't come back to life.
Yeah, I mean like that area we were talking about before, like I was purposely avoiding any specifics because
you don't want to ruin it for people.
I don't like everything is a spoiler in this game. Like every item you can get, like there's like certain things that I keep seeing on YouTube that were unavoidable that I kind of wish I discovered on my own. Like there's these things called Ashes of War, or sorry, not Ashes of War. The what are those dudes?
Spirit Ash.
Those are the ones that you summon.
Yeah. You can summon like helpers.
Yeah, so there's like this one like I'm not going to say exactly what it is just in case, but there's one that like everybody is like getting and like dominating with. And I kind of wish I didn't know about it. Yeah. And I just found out on my own. But
so like once I found out about that too, and so I haven't been able to play for like 2 weeks now, and I found out about it while I was away from the game. But when I come back to it, I'm intending not to try to find it or use it because everyone's saying it's OP, you know?
Yeah. You know, like with Diablo, it kind of becomes this, you look up like the best like
builds
and the
stats.
Go here, get this, then go here, get this. And it's like Adam was trying to get me into Diablo and that really put me off. And then eventually Adam was like, you know what? Don't look at all this stuff. Just play how you want to play and you'll probably enjoy it a lot more. And he's right.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm sure even with Elden Ring, you can go online and people are probably already figuring out the best order.
People are doing stuff like that. And I've looked into it a little bit just because I am interested in that kind of stats and optimization stuff because I think it transfers over from Diablo.
Yeah.
But there's so many different options and different types and really powerful combinations of skills and weapons and items that it really doesn't feel like there's one size fits all kind of option. So it's even if you look into it, you're not going to feel like, okay, well now I know this is the best one. So there's no point doing like a pyromancer type build or like a melee build because I should be doing this kind of sorcery character or something.
Yeah. I mean, the kind of stuff I've been looking up are things it's kind of what's the word? Something, You know when they add a patch to a game that improves
quality of
quality
life.
of life.
Yeah, okay. I look up quality of life things. Things that I should probably already know. That
Right, like how to sort your inventory by like most recently acquired items. Yeah. Because sometimes I'll pick something up and I'm searching through my inventory, I can't find it. I didn't know. I randomly learned online, like, okay, if I press R3, I can actually sort.
Yeah.
Because you and I were talking, we were like, God, it's so annoying. They won't let you sort.
Well,
And apparently
I
they
like
do. It's just-
accidentally sorted, but I forgot
Yeah.
how I did it. So it's like there's
Yeah.
even like there's so many hidden things in this game that you discover, even hidden options in the menus.
Even the actual game mechanics.
Yeah, and even those when you discover them, you're like, oh, sweet, this is awesome.
Right, like I still don't totally understand how online multiplayer works. And I think
Involves a
that's
finger.
on purpose. Like
I think multiple fingers.
I can easily look it up, and I don't think it's going to be a spoiler to learn that part. But I do think they intend for it to be a little cryptic and a little like you have to experiment and figure. Like you might end up using the wrong like finger or whatever, and like you know you accidentally start dueling someone else when what you really meant to do is some kind of co-op thing. Like they want you to. The whole game is about trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we
Literally
thought about
everything.
buying a second copy so you and I could play co-op, and
Yeah.
we looked up multiplayer, and it took a minute for us to be like, okay, so it does or it doesn't have multiplayer. Okay, it does, but it's not just going to the menu, create a game. You have to find a severed finger, do some kind of magic. The part that I really scratched my head at, though, is you both need to go into your multiplayer settings and make sure you have the same password. And then it's like, well, if you both have the same password...
That's basically a way like to join a community of like a community of people who are playing, so that when you're looking at the messages on the ground and the ghosts, they could be people you know or at least have something in common with. So I haven't actually checked, but I can only imagine like the Elden Ring subreddit has their own password. It's not really a password in the sense that it's anything secret, but it's just a commonly shared code word so that you can all be in the same universe.
Well, people are starting these multiplayer groups or whatever of like thousands of players. One reason is because when you're in one of those, if someone kills a shard bearer, you actually get like 5% extra runes for a certain amount of time. So when there's like thousands of players
There's
in a
an
group,
incentive.
you basically get it all the time.
So they're starting pyramid schemes within Elden Ring now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elden Ring has like NFTs in it now.
If you refer somebody, you get half a shard, okay? But then you refer them, you give me the shard, but
You
then
don't
you
even
get
know-
two people, they give you a
He
quarter.
doesn't know what a shard is. I'm gonna be
By the way,
honest,
just when
I
we-
barely even do either.
We talked about the Spirit Ash before, which is where you can like summon a helper. So there's like some of these aren't spoilery because you get them so early, but like there's like one that's just like a big floating jellyfish that's like really tanky, so it can absorb a lot of damage. Which means instead of if you're fighting a boss, instead of the boss focusing on you, it'll focus on the jellyfish for however long the jellyfish can survive its attacks. And even though the jellyfish doesn't necessarily do a lot of damage, it's really useful because then you can just keep get a couple hits on the boss, then run away, try to get him to focus on the jellyfish. Now, having played some, not a lot, like I'm not really that well versed with these, but I played enough to get frustrated, which is the original Dark Souls and also Bloodborne. In some ways, they are way harder than Elden Ring because you don't have something like a Spirit Ash, for example. And you really seldom have the option of saying, well, this boss is too hard, so I'm just going to go do something else for a while.
Yeah, actually, a few days ago, out of curiosity, I actually went and played Bloodborne a bit, and it was way more fun now that I understand this type of game more.
I think I could come back to it now, and I'd probably really love it.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain one thing that sucks is Elden Ring obviously improved on certain mechanics, so now going backwards, there's certain controls that are a little cumbersome. It's not bad though; it's still good, and you get used to it. But actually, I actually got to this boss that I got to the first time I played, and he was still too hard. So I explored more and realized there's actually a second boss that you can fight before beating that one. And the first time I played, I had no idea. So it's pretty amazing that you could actually really see where a lot of like the Elden Ring mechanics started. And it's kind of interesting that we didn't really get in. Well, I didn't get into it till Elden Ring came out. So now I'm really curious how like they went from Demon Souls all the way through Bloodborne. Like they've just been improving these mechanics.
You know, they have, this studio's been around for a really long time. Like they had, I forget exactly what it's called. It's like Kings something. They had a game going all the way back to PS1 that worked kind of similarly.
Yeah, I thought I saw, I could be wrong, but I thought they had some retro games where it wasn't exactly a Soulsborne game, but it was kind of the prototype of it. Like it was where it started.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see that.
Right. And I think like the one thing From Software is doing that feels missing from a lot of like AAA games now is this difficulty and the addictive quality. Not because they're, you know, some games are addictive because they've just figured out how to make it feel addictive and how to give you this constant feeling of reward.
Mobile games.
Such as mobile games, but that's heavily the line between mobile and non-mobile games and like console games and PC is becoming blurred in terms of the techniques they're using to really keep you hooked, which is this constant feeling of progression and improvement. But I think with those games, they're going for the cheap form of addiction. What Elden Ring does is what retro games used to do, which is you hit some spot and you're like, I can do it. I know if I focus hard enough and if I try and I learn, I can beat this spot eventually. And that's what Elden Ring just completely nailed with this. And I think maybe in part that's because they've been around for so long and like they have this lineage going all the way back to PS1 and I think earlier. So like they really know what they're doing, and it seems like they have some kind of ethos that they've really done a good job sticking with.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that's a really interesting point. I feel like the difference between the kind of cheap way of being addictive and the Elden Ring way is that when you're talking about mobile games or similar types of games, they give you the sense of progression without any actual progression. You got a loot box, or they made your character more powerful, versus Elden Ring or these retro games you're talking about, you actually mentally and physically got better at something.
Right. You need to learn the stage, or you need to learn the boss, you need to learn how the enemy moves.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's
like
real
no matter
progression.
how good of a gear set you have in Elden Ring, there's certain builds in Elden Ring that if you get like exactly the right gear and the right whatever, you can probably kind of cheese the game and make it pretty unfair. But that's not the norm. And so like, even if you have a pretty solid set of gear and like good skills and a lot of XP, unless you in your brain, not just in the game, but in your brain, actually learn how the boss works and learn how to beat them, you'll still keep losing.
Yeah, there's times where I figure out how to beat a boss in a cheese way, and I kind of feel guilty afterward.
I feel bad about it, yeah.
Yeah, like there's this one big-ass dude that he was inside this like dining hall or some room, and I literally was standing outside the door and he couldn't get to me, so I would just keep shooting arrows at him from
but you know
through
I
the door.
wouldn't even call that that's almost so easy and simple that that's something the developers had to have known was possible, and I think they were like, you know what, if someone wants to do that, good for them, that's clever, right? So there's certain forms of cheesing that I think are less like noble, but that sounds like one that I think is like okay.
Well, in a way, I'm depriving myself. It's kind of like cheating on a test. Mm-hmm. You're actually only hurting yourself in the long run in most cases. Which, but it's similar to this where you're getting less practice by doing that, and then when you encounter the next boss or bad guy, you didn't get that experience, and you basically have to like train with this harder boss instead of getting some experience with this weaker one. You know?
Yeah.
And actually, there are a few areas where you could go inside, and they're just stuck right outside the door, and they'll just like try to get you. You'll just hit them with a sword, back up, hit them back up.
Yeah.
I do feel like I need to say we have attracted a younger demographic because of our recent Spider-Man videos. So I just want to say cheating on a test is always wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you were. I watched the Donkey video about this, and I saw there was one boss that can't turn around. So you just go behind him and just keep hitting him over.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I do think that the game has interesting variation in difficulty. So there's some parts that feel just way too hard, which that's not me saying it should be easier. Donkey kind of suggested it should be easier, but I don't know how. I don't think he was that serious about it.
Well, he was saying that some things were like it was inconsistent, where some things were easy where they shouldn't be, and some things were,
some things felt easier than I expected. Like there was one boss, like the magma worm something, and
spoiler, I didn't know there was a magma worm.
Yeah, it's not a spoiler. It's just this like massive thing that it's like has all these like flame attacks, and somehow I don't know, maybe I'm just really good, which I don't think is true, but I beat it on my first encounter with it. And I ended up getting like a really sweet ass weapon as a result. And it felt like great, but I was also like, that felt too easy almost. And I don't know. I still am process. Like, I don't know how to feel about it because there are other things that are so hard that maybe that's how it should be.
Well,
like
maybe it's intentional because it's kind of like a nice break. It's a nice surprise and
it's a reward for exploring.
I mean, also it's a worm. Like, how smart could it be?
Right. So, like, you haven't encountered it. You don't know what I'm talking about, which means you haven't encountered it yet, even though you've played a lot too, right? And so it's rewarding me for exploration. So
you're gonna go through the absolution process and get forgiveness from the worm,
from the magma worm.
That's gonna be Adam's hanging out with the worm from now on. They're like buddies.
Ew.
Yeah.
I just picture him with his arm around like this slimy worm.
So even though it wasn't that hard to beat, but I did get that weapon has made a big difference in my gameplay. So like my attacks are all different now, and I do a lot more damage. And it helped me move forward in the game, like big time. And so maybe that was the game saying, there's little cracks of generosity here and there. And maybe the inconsistent difficulty is a good thing. Overall, it's super hard, but if you explore enough and you look in every nook and cranny of the map, eventually you'll find things that can help you advance.
The Elden Ring giveth and the Elden Ring taketh away.
Yeah.
Do you know what the Elden Ring is?
No.
Not exactly.
And I don't know what it means to become the Elden Lord. But I know I want it.
Yeah, you want it. I think it makes you more powerful, and I think only like certain people have like the moral like ability to acquire it.
You have to have killed the magma worm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's for sure. And it's something to do with like you're in the lands between, and it's been something about it has been all fractured.
These are all the things I heard in the initial cutscene.
I haven't learned much more since then.
Yeah, I'm curious. Have either
They put a lot of thought into the lore, and so like I've watched. It occurred like I was thinking like, okay, I'm not gonna have that much time for video games, and so the chances are I'll probably never play Demon Souls. And so I watched a YouTube video explaining the full lore of Demon Souls, and if you were to just play through the game, it would appear just as cryptic as Elden Ring's lore is. But when you go watch this video and it explains everything in a linear way, it's like, okay, it makes sense. And it even explains basic game mechanics like collecting souls and like how come when you die, you just reawaken in the same place and you try again. Like it actually gets in depth and explains all of that. And I'm sure Elden Ring is the same way, and it's probably pretty interesting. Which I'll do eventually when I'm done playing. I'll watch a YouTube video or something.
Yeah, I love games that actually have logic behind death in the game.
Right.
Unlike Mario, where you just go back to the beginning and there's no real world explanation.
Right, your deaths in these games are canon.
They actually are, because literally the point of the game is to die to get better and learn.
Right.
And they like the whole like site of grace thing. I don't know. It's all connected somehow. And I like that.
It's pretty fascinating to me that, like you, Adam, just said, you'll watch a lore video maybe of Elden Ring at some point. The funny thing is, those lore videos don't exactly exist yet. I mean, there are some, but you're not going to find a video that explains the entire story of Elden Ring. I don't think anybody fully gets it yet.
Well, to this day, people are still uncovering secrets. So just recently, there was some door in some castle. Somehow someone figured out that if you hit it like 50 times,
I saw that.
You do a certain amount of damage, so you can probably hit it, fewer times with a different weapon. Mm-hmm. If you do it enough times, you can go through this like secret passageway. And it took weeks of the game being out before anyone discovered it.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of stuff goes way back to like, remember Putt Putt?
Yes.
Yeah, no, even back then there were secrets like that people didn't find until many years later.
What was the secret in Putt Putt?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. So
yeah, you know the secret in Putt Putt, of course.
So apparently, if you go into the log file and modify this one value, it's called like upchuck something equals something.
Mm-hmm.
Then if you go to like the ice cream truck and I think you have to buy ice cream 10 times. Putt Putt will actually throw up some gross looking like purple vomit.
Yeah.
And then a dog will jump out of your car or out of Putt Putt and lick it up and go back in.
Huh.
So it's just like the door.
How do
you know? How do you know 10 times?
I've never seen Putt Putt before.
We
didn't have this when we
one
were
of our
kids, right?
family friends' houses. I remember they had it in like their basement on their computer there.
I know. I remember seeing it at a few friends' houses. It was like a very child-friendly game on the computer where you were a car. Did you play golf? I feel like
I don't know, but they got rid of that like they purposely got rid of that in the main game, the upchuck.
Oh yeah.
That's why you have to go into the log file.
That reminds me of, I think in either Excel
It's like the hot coffee mod.
I can't believe that was like so like people were so worried about that. It doesn't look like anything.
It really doesn't feel like a big deal.
Look what they have in games today. They have stuff like 100 times like more vulgar.
Yeah. Either Word or Excel, one of the Microsoft Office applications back in the day, there was some particular set of keys you could press to unlock a little pinball game or a flight simulator. I forget.
Huh.
Something like
Oh,
that.
That sounds right. Yeah, that rings a
sounds
bell.
very familiar.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, that'll be the next episode. Bonus episode. We'll review the flight simulator built into the Windows 3.1 version of Word.
It's Excel, I think.
Excel? Okay.
Yeah, Excel 97 had a flight simulator built in an Easter egg. In case you were bored at work.
You were like, why is this Excel such a big like application?
Yeah,
like, I had to delete Word to
That was
install
the
Excel.
The first.
Why does
Soulsborne
Excel
game.
need such a good graphics card?
All right, so we're talking Excel now. So I guess bringing it back, anything else you'd say about Elden Ring that we haven't already said? Well, actually, one thing I wanted to ask is, I feel like when you were playing Adam and I watched, you were doing a lot of shooting stuff, like shooting magic at people.
Okay, so I started as a melee character, and eventually I was like, okay, but there's all this kind of sorcery stuff in the game, and I played some Bloodborne, I've played some Dark Souls, and I played a decent amount of Elden Ring, and every single time I've done it, I've been melee, so I've been either using like a sword or an axe or a magma worm. I forgot what it was called.
I picture a
Anyway.
whip, like if you're holding the worm.
No. It's like a fragment. Here, let me just look it up. Magma worm scale sword. It's the scale sword. It looks like a piece of the worm, and I'm just bashing it with it.
Did
Scale.
you
It's like
also
a
get a
sword.
piece of a dragon that you were using as a sword?
No, that's I accidentally said dragon. But it was a magma worm.
Man, after all this time. This whole time
So,
I thought it was a dragon
Yeah,
sword.
Alon spent 20 hours looking for this dragon sword. I got a worm sword. I got everything else. There's no dragon sword.
Oh, by the way, remember that big dragon you told me to kill with the blood?
Blood, yeah.
Yeah, I thought I was doing it, and I accidentally was just hitting it normally over and over and over. It took a while.
Oh, so it would have taken forever.
Yeah, it did. But anyways, I don't know why it just sat there and let me do it.
Yeah, so you that's one cheese thing you can do. But anyway, oh yeah. So after a while, I was like, okay, like I'm kind of just curious to see what it's like playing a caster. At least in Diablo, you'd call it like a casting character. In this, I don't know. I was basically, there's a few different types of magic. There's like sorcery, there's incantations and stuff like that. And so I was doing a sorcery type build, and I just kind of wanted to start over, especially because a lot of stuff that took me a long time to figure out, I figured out much more quick. I already knew now, so I figured if I start a new character, I can catch up to where I was with the melee character quickly. And I was right. So like the amount of progress I made in like 30 hours with the melee character, I probably made in 5 hours with my sorcerer. And it was fun casting and being able to attack enemies from far away. And it almost felt like cheating at first until I got to bosses. And then I realized how unprepared I was because they're going to focus on me and they have so much health that even if I attack from far away with like one of your most basic skills is called like the glintstone pebble. And I upgraded it and stuff. And I acquired weapons that helped me do a decent amount of damage with it. But so I was able to kill most enemies before they could even reach me. But with a boss, I just couldn't do it. And then I ended up getting stuck again. And I was like, okay, so I started this new character because I kind of got stuck with my melee one and I wanted to try something new. And now I just got stuck with my sorcerer. So I'm left with the option. In either case, I have to go get stronger and figure out how to do it. And at that point, I still had more fun with melee, so I went back to melee. But I think eventually, I want to beat the game with my melee character and then go back with a sorcerer.
Yeah. I mean, many of these bosses also jump high up in the air and land right on top of you. So, like, even if you are a ranged character, like, you're kind of screwed.
And one of the things I've heard, as far as ranged characters go, is barring any future patches and stuff and balance changes, right now, being like an archer is one of the most difficult classes. And class is not the right word because any character can do anything as long as you allocate your stats properly. But like focusing on bow and arrow and those related skills is apparently one of the harder ways to get through the game. But it is cool. Like they have every attack has so many different ways of doing it. Like you can roll as a dodge, but then go from the roll into an attack, and that's its own animation and has its own damage properties compared to just a regular attack. Or you can attack in the air, and even if you're like a bow and arrow wielder, you can jump and then shoot from midair too. And so although they maybe didn't put as much effort and thought into like the animations for platforming and the mechanics of it, they definitely did when it comes to fighting. And the fighting mechanics in this are like the best fighting mechanics in any game ever. And the last thing I'll say about it is the hit detection is perfect. So there's some games where you're like, what the heck? Like
the spike in Mario. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-mm. It's like a little spike block that it animates and the spikes that come out. And like if it still takes up a full square, even if the spike's not touching that corner. Okay. It's so frustrating in Mario Maker.
Gotcha.
Right. Whereas in this game, like if I am doing like mounted combats, like I'm on a horse and I'm using like a halberd to try to hit an enemy. If I swing and I don't see the halberd touch the enemy, I know it's not going to do any damage. I can't be like, well, it was close and it should have been within the hitbox. Like
it is kind of annoying when it goes over the bad guy. Yeah. I'm like, well, why are you swinging like
again,
that?
that adds to the immersion and it shows you like, again, even though there like some corners were cut or at least not filled in when it comes to platforming, not a single detail of combat was left out, or that's how it feels. And so the word hitbox isn't even proper because it's not a hitbox. It's just, did it actually touch the 3D model or not? Mm-hmm. And so it's like the combat is just incredible.
Yeah, I think one thing you touched on about releasing like patches to like tweak like the amount of damage you take, the amount of damage you do. That's one thing amazing about more modern games, that literally they're collecting data on how all the millions of people are playing this game, and they're actually changing all the values based on that.
Yeah.
You know, like I think I heard there was some like turtle shell shield that was like pretty much you were invincible with it, and they actually like lowered the stats for that. But they also increased the stats of some other weapons. So, I mean, literally this game has the potential to just become absolutely perfect.
Right.
Because they're watching how we're all playing, and they're making it better. For all I know, maybe they'll release a platforming DLC at some point. Probably not. But
do they have a track record of expanding their games through DLC?
No idea.
Do you know? I'm just curious. I mean, I feel like the game is so massive. It's not like anyone right now is saying they've got to add more. But I was just curious.
I miss expansion packs though.
Yeah,
it felt like a much bigger deal to me.
They've had DLCs for their other games, so I'm sure they'll do it for this.
Cool. So if somebody
like Bloodborne has it, and like a bunch of the Dark Souls games have it. So
gotcha. So I want to play this game. I played it for about an hour, but you guys are having so much fun. Even just watching, like if I walk by the TV and I see you on a boss, I'll sit down and I get into it because I keep seeing you get closer and closer each time. Yeah. And then I'll be yelling at the TV. I'm like, no, don't do that attack now. Are you crazy? Back up.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying about getting impatient. You're like, you hit him like 3 times. You're like, I could squeeze a 4th one in, and then big mistake.
And I'll be like, no, what are you doing?
Yeah, I know, but you just feel like you can squeeze it in. But the worst is when you like get a boss all the way to like halfway, and then you're like, I got this, and then there's like a quick cutscene. They transform into like some like double damage with wings, and you're like, okay, it kills you in 2 seconds. So then you gotta get good at that first stage. It's almost like fighting 2 bosses,
right?
Because first you have to learn how to beat them that first stage, which could take forever, and then phase 2.
Is there any real world equivalent to that? In video games, all the time you'll have a boss where you defeat it, and then it's like, well, you have to defeat me in this form.
Maybe if they like replace the quarterback in the second half with like a better quarterback or something. Adam?
Yeah.
No, there's
no, I don't know. It's like when you like finish like a year of school when you're a kid, and it's like, joke's on you. We just have another grade for you.
Yeah, but you already
and it's just going to be even more work.
No, it's like in boxing. It's like in boxing when you knock them down, you think I got this, and then they get then they get like motivated. They get up there, like
Rocky,
and then they just demolish you.
Yeah, they have to press the button really fast to get back up. Actually, the school one's good because you go through high school and you're like, this is horrible, and then you go to college and you're like, I'm sleeping until noon every day. I don't have class on Friday. I don't have class on Thursday. Like, this is so easy. And then you get a job, and you're like, this is worse than high school. What happened?
Then you start a YouTube channel, and it's all better.
Yeah, exactly. Well, okay, so somebody's starting out this game. What is the single biggest piece of advice you would give to somebody starting out?
Don't give up.
All right, Daniel, that's for you.
Yeah, similarly, I'd say be patient. The game makes sense, and if you feel like you're stuck, either you're not paying enough attention or you need to explore a little more.
Yeah, I like what you said about the game makes sense, because like when I was playing, there really were parts where I was like, why did they do this? It's so stupid. And then like eventually you start to realize, oh, that's why they did it. That's really smart. I'm an idiot.
Like, pretend you really are the character and think, what would I do if I was actually in this situation? And so, like, pull out your map often. Mark things, as if it's like your actual real life map. You're out in the wilderness. You don't know where you are, what you're doing. But for example, like you find a vendor out in the middle of nowhere. And you're like, okay, this guy has something that might be useful for me later. And it's not marked on my map. So I'm going to actually leave a mark for my own purposes. Now, I actually think a recent patch may have added, it's built in now to the map that it shows you where these vendors are. But I actually liked it the original way. That actually gave me a bigger feeling of like, I'm on an adventure and I really have to survive by my own wits and my own preparation. So when I encounter someone who's selling something that might be useful, I'm going to leave a little marker on the map there. I'm not just going to assume the game will take care of it for me. Now, I actually think it will, but like that's probably the most generous this game's going to get with stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I'll say that's something I wish I did from the start. Mark things on my map, because now I don't even know what I forgot about.
And now you haven't played in a few days. You're going to be so confused when you get back to it.
But so like act like you are. Let yourself get immersed. Become the character and like make the kinds of decisions you would really make if you were in that situation.
If you die in the game,
you try telling yourself that.
The grace.
There are so many times where I'm stuck on a boss and I'm like, okay, I just need to pretend that if I die on the boss, I die in real life, and so then I have to beat it, and it doesn't work.
That's why if I have like a lot of work I have to get done for like the next day, why can't I just tell myself, okay, why don't I just pretend there's a gun to my head, and if I don't get it done tonight, I'll die.
Well, it's like in Fight Club, where the guy wants to be a veterinarian, and he like puts a gun to his head.
Oh yeah,
and he's like, I'm gonna come back in a year Yeah.
See, it's a real threat. Maybe we could start some sort of business to motivate people.
That kills you if you don't.
That was there was that episode of Nathan For You where he started a business.
He would take an embarrassing photo, right?
Yeah, he takes an embarrassing photo or just gets some really embarrassing picture or something from you, and basically you set a goal. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And if you don't do it, he says, I'm going to release this publicly.
So like all your friends and family and your employees and stuff.
Right. And you agree to it in advance. Yeah. For motivation.
And I think this manager or something failed to achieve the goal. And so had a picture of him like dressed in like a diaper and like a baby outfit sent to all of his employees.
That show is hilarious.
The problem is the threat wasn't strong enough. You need someone to say, I'll end your life if you don't do this project in time.
On that note,
the thing is, even if someone did that for me with Elden Ring, like there are some bosses I still wouldn't be able to defeat without 50 tries.
Right, some of it is just you literally need to obtain some muscle memory for the pattern for that boss. I feel like you can't.
I do think maybe not most, but there's probably a lot of bosses that feel almost impossible at first. That if you had immense discipline and patience and caution, you might be able to beat them on the first try. Because you could just survive long enough to learn their moves. The problem is when you feel like you got to go on the offensive right away, it becomes really risky.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing difficult about it is this is a 3D game with like really good graphics. It's not like if there was a 2D version of this game, just side pixels, it would probably be a lot easier because
the pattern recognition would be
exactly.
simpler.
It's much easier to do it. Like here, they don't like move like this. Yeah, like it's all such organic movement.
Right.
It's hard to identify the patterns.
Some of the boss's moves, there's a lot of variation, and so it would be hard to pick up within that split second when they start an attack to say, "Oh, it's that one," or to differentiate it from another.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, you realize it is a little bit formulaic, and there is some predictability to it, but to be able to recognize it quickly enough to react is tough.
Yeah, I mean, if you recognize it a second too late and try to react to it, then you're screwed.
Right. You know? But it kind of simulates in real life. If you were fighting someone, you learn their technique. Not exactly a pattern.
Yeah. You learn their technique and their style as opposed to, as soon as they step forward with the right foot, I know automatically this next thing is going to happen.
Anything else to say about Elden Ring?
It's so good. I've been away from it for a couple weeks now, and the whole time I've just been wishing that my Steam Deck pre-order would go through so that I can just play it mobilely. It's such a good game, and it's like I really liked Breath of the Wild, but this makes Breath of the Wild look like just
Kirby.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest.
Lame.
I'm pretty worried about the Breath of the Wild sequel right now. Because
it really feels Breath of the Wild feels like just the kid version of this game. They're really similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like they need to do something drastically different from the first one, and like this game improved so many mechanics of Breath of the Wild. For what I'm looking for, that
except for climbing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Breath of the Wild is probably the only game that does climbing right now, except for the fact that you can't climb in the rain for some reason. So all you do is just sit there and you literally just stand there and wait until it goes away.
You can't play like an ocarina to stop the rain or something?
No, but I don't know why you can't you should be able to get some special gloves or something. But they don't like the idea of permanent items in that game.
Like those Spider-Man suction cup things.
I mean, like here, I have a few more things to say. Regarding the game mechanics. So when I was playing Bloodborne, I can already see where they improved on a few things. For instance, your stamina meter in Bloodborne, in games like Breath of the Wild, when you run, it goes down, which kind of makes sense. It's stamina. But the problem is you use that same meter for your attacks. So a lot of the time, like in Breath of the Wild, you just want to get from point A to point B. You run, you have to wait. You run, you have to wait.
Yeah, and that's just that's not fun. It doesn't add anything.
Yeah, and that there's a little bit of that in like Bloodborne, but and then if you see a bad guy right there, you have to stand there, wait for your stamina to come back. Okay, then attack. In Elden Ring, your running doesn't use up any stamina at all, and then
until you're in a combat situation, which is perfect.
Okay.
Like that makes sense.
Complete sense.
Yeah. The other thing, it's the makers of these games are so smart. Like they come up with really interesting things, and each game they have sort of an intended level of how aggressive you're meant to be. And so one of the like stated purposes of Bloodborne was it was meant to be kind of like Dark Souls, but to encourage more aggressive and offensive action.
Yeah,
For example,
that's why you don't get a shield.
Bloodborne doesn't have shields in it. And the other thing is, when you take damage in Bloodborne, your health meter has like kind of a certain amount of loss to it that you can gain back if you do damage within a split second. So like while the meter is degrading, if you do enough damage to an enemy, you'll gain it back. And so they're encouraging you to react and to attack quickly when you're in danger rather than to retreat. It's like Elden Ring is full of things that are like incentivize you to act in certain ways, in very subtle ways. And it's like they thought about everything.
Yeah. I don't know the full story or barely any of the story of Bloodborne, but I do remember during like one of the like loading screens that like it shows like information about the lore.
Right.
And they actually said something about how your type of I forget, do you remember what your character is? Like what are you in that game? You're like some type of
like I don't know.
You're hollowed or
like
something.
It's like I know it's like the Knight of like the Hunt or something like that.
Yeah, you're a hunter or something. It doesn't matter. The point is, it says like hunters generally don't carry shields for some like I don't know reason. Like it makes you weak or something. I don't know, but it's just cool.
It's the same reason that Batman had to jump without the rope. The fear of death.
Oh yeah,
is what motivates you.
Yeah, you are a hunter, by the way. That's right. It's funny. So like I hadn't played the game in a while, and so before we started, I was like, I don't know how much I'm gonna have to say because I've been away from it for a while. But now that we've started talking, like the game has so much depth.
Yeah,
there's so many things. I
was like, don't worry. I have a few prompts, like questions I can ask, and I was like, so guys, like, what do you think of Elden Ring? Like 2 hours later,
dude. I mean, you realize how big this game is? Do you realize there's an underground, there's a normal ground, and there's an above ground?
Yeah, well, because I watched the donkey video, so yeah.
yeah. I didn't even know about the above ground until I saw that.
It's massive.
Yeah. But I was reading an article from somebody trying to explain the lore of the game, and he basically said up front, I've been playing this game for 200 hours. I play with a notebook. And he actually recommended you should play with a notebook by your side to keep track of things.
That's kind of how I felt when I was marking stuff on my map. I was like, I really feel like I have to think and prepare and write stuff and like keep track of stuff.
I was watching, I forget, I saw some YouTube video where this guy was explaining why he disagrees with the idea of adding a quest log, and actually writing down stuff is probably going to help with a lot of things, but not everything. He was saying that when you meet, first of all, nobody gives you a quest. Like someone might tell you, "Oh, there's some dragon like defending this area."
My 6 sheep ran away. You got to round them up.
Exactly. But he's not telling you to go fight it. Like he's just letting you know it's there. And so, anyways, if someone has some issue, you don't have to do anything about it. You can just move on with your life in the game, do something else, and if you come back, that character's progression actually continued without you. So you may have interrupted it and put your own like action into it, but if you don't, something else happens. So you can't just like write this person wants this thing, and then because if you do something else in the background, that might influence this thing, which influences that person's trajectory in the game.
Right.
So there can't be just a straight up mission.
So
one,
it could be like
mission 3.
My sheep ran away, and then you a few days later release a dragon, and maybe the dragon kills the sheep.
Exactly. So,
don't you steal that idea, Elden Ring? That's my quest. I came up with that.
There was this one part of the game that I actually don't know if it's possible for it to go differently, but there was this woman that wanted me to do something. I went and I did it, and I came back, and I just looked down, and I just see her body, and you pick like interact, and it just says she's dead. I'm like, okay. I guess that I did what she wanted, and I come back and she's just dead. There's nothing for me to do.
Then you tried to interact with her body.
Yeah, I heard myself say interact, and
the game's like, we don't do that.
Alon went into the log and changed a number. And
up, Chuck.
So see, I wasn't gonna say that.
Yeah, we went right up to the line.
Yeah.
It sounds like if I were to boil down what makes this game so awesome, it sounds like the difficulty makes it addictive because it gives you that reward for progression. But it's not like other difficult games where you get to a certain point and it's so frustrating, you just put the game down and walk away. You can do that in the game. You say, I'm not going to fight this dragon right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to fight those sheep over there.
No, I do that. So like there's these like giants that like you can, once you have like your steed and you're riding around, it's much easier to kill them.
Right.
And and you get a decent like rune / XP reward when you do it. And so when I'm stuck somewhere and I'm just like I just want to kill something and like not have to try so hard, I just go and like slay a couple giants and then, and then I go back.
Or you just find some area on the map you haven't been, just go toward it.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Right, that's the other
always
piece of
stuff
it.
you haven't explored.
The exploration.
Or you'll be like, oh wait, well I'm a lot stronger now, and there was this like abandoned mine full of enemies that I could barely like. I just kept getting killed, but that was like 20 hours ago. Now I'm like, I just remembered it. Maybe I should go back and see if I can fight them now.
One of the best moments. So when you first like leave the starting area, the first thing you see is a tree sentinel. This dude riding a horse.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That he kills.
I tried to fight him.
Yeah, he kills you immediately. The best feeling is when you're finally like, you know what? I might go try to.
I'm gonna
kill
try
that guy.
it. Yeah.
You come back, you kill him, and it feels amazing. It's like, man, look where I started. Look at me now.
Awesome.
Another fun thing is like with almost every enemy that you kill, they have certain specific items, whether it's like a weapon or armor or other things like that, that you see them wearing it, and if you kill them, sometimes they'll drop those things, and so it's almost like a trophy. Like when I did finally kill a tree sentinel and get the golden halberd that it was using, I was like, damn, like I'm not using this weapon. I probably never will. But
like
this is like a trophy. Like I feel cool about having it.
It sounds like Mega Man X. Whenever you beat the boss,
power,
you get their power.
Yeah. I love that. That was awesome.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to. I feel like I've already said so many times. Anything else to say about Elden Ring? So I figured I'd just pause for a second.
There's one more thing.
Okay.
Just the whole, like, I didn't know that was possible feeling, and it feels amazing. I remember one time Adam saw me playing, and he saw me in this area. He's like, how did you get there? I had to beat this boss to get there.
You're like, I don't know.
And I'm like, I don't know. I just found my way here.
Right. And I was like, wait a minute. You mean you didn't fight like the Godric the Grafted? And you're like, no, who is that? And I was like, are you kidding? Like, I thought that was the first major boss, and somehow you got past that castle without even realizing.
Of Stormvale.
Stormvale.
That's the first shard bearer that most people encounter.
You got past Stormvale Castle in a way that you're supposed to be able to do it if you find it. Whereas I was like, I assumed I had to go through.
One question, actually. Have either of you actually beaten the game?
No.
Do you know how to beat the game?
No.
I assume like you just find. Okay, so the closest this game gets to giving you a quest is when you get to a site of grace. Some of them will have this like kind of golden stuff like going off in a certain direction. It kind of
points you which way you should go, right?
It points you and at least says like if you want to follow kind of the main path of the game, go this general direction. And sometimes it's pointing and it's just like up against a cliff and there's like, well, yeah, but I can't go through there. So it's just saying generally go this way, which I think is good because like sometimes I want to progress along the main thing and learn more about what's going on in the game. And it would be really hard to do that without those indicators because I'd end up doing something that feels quest related and it turns out it's not. It turns out it was kind of a side thing.
Yeah, I think I finally saw like a few days ago when I was still playing, I encountered a cutscene, which it's the first cutscene I saw since like the beginning of the game. So I'm like, okay, I just did something really important. Like I held something up and I just like, this thing just took me like way up in the air and it felt good. But I don't know what
magma worm.
Yeah, some magma worm just like. But man, yeah, no, it feels amazing to just discover new locations. Like I saw on YouTube, apparently there's a snowy area. Apparently there's a magma area. And like I haven't even seen these yet.
It gives me, when I watch you play and I leave and I come back and you're in this totally different, weird looking area, it gives me the same feeling I got as a kid when we were playing Super Mario World and we get to the special world. I'm like, we're in a part, you're not supposed to be here. This is cool.
Or like the Star Zone and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was playing a different game. That's why. Yeah. I was playing Mario.
But yeah, the game, like, this is, everyone kind of knows this by now, and every review says it. But like the design, it's extremely creative. Graphically, it looks amazing. The sound is amazing. And like you'll enter certain realms and parts of the game that just look really cool, and you don't understand how they could have come up with that kind of stuff. The game feels many parts of it feel like it's supposed to be kind of dreamlike, and like I think that it's intentional, and it looks really cool.
Awesome. Well, I really want to play this game now, but Kirby comes out in about 43 minutes, so
play that game with my eyes closed.
Yeah, well, we'll see. So with that, anything else to say about Elden Ring?
No, that's enough.
Maybe we'll do a second part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe once we beat it.
Yeah.
Well, with that, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more. We're having in-depth discussions like this every week. This week it was about a video game. Sometimes it's about movies, TV shows.
Food.
Could be about food, possibly.
Oh, energy drinks.
Oh, yeah, we got to do that.
Yeah, we have the One Taste, where we taste different energy drinks. I want to, for the next time we do video games, I kind of felt left out. I'm going to play a game, and I'm going to tell you guys about it.
All right. What game?
That would be a first.
Zork.
Yeah, no, I beat that like 5 times.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this video.
You can review TI-83 calculator games.
It's funny. Yeah. I went down a rabbit hole recently because I was like, is anybody still making TI-83 plus games?
You should tell us about the state of that.
Yeah. Oh, wait, that's a bonus episode. Yeah. That's a different episode. This one's over, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next OneTake.
Bye.